Well, Jimmy Stewart, thanks for joining us on TalkSport. I suppose Wellington, we have to go back to 2008. Me and Huggy got a tap on the shoulder off the captain, Michael Vaughan, and said, you weren't very good in Hamilton. We can't keep these two young lads at bay anymore. They're out, you're out, they're in. What was your memories from that, and what was your memories from Wellington?
Well, yeah, I was lucky enough to get to play for Auckland during that first test, so I'd actually got some bowling in, and I think that really helped me feel confident going into that game. It was a bit of a surprise, to be honest, to get the call up, but I felt like I needed that game to get me into some decent form, and yeah, it was a nice game to play in.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the pitch here, I remember Jimmy swinging it first innings, getting 5 for, and for me as a young lad, just trying to run in as hard as I can, it felt like it bounced through okay here. It did a little bit more than the first pitch at Hamilton, which was quite slow and low, wasn't it? But yeah, I remember feeling quite nervous getting the sort of tap on the shoulder the day before saying you're playing, but just trying to go in with like a free spirit really, and having made my debut 3 months earlier in Colombo, knowing that this pitch would probably suit me a little bit more than that part of the world. So yeah, I mean, it's I remember the game, I remember the feelings quite clearly. Jimmy actually twisted his ankle, didn't you, on night one playing football, and had to actually left the ground on crutches, not knowing if he was going to take part in the game, which would have been a nightmare. But yeah, good memories getting a win in a test match, and actually ended up winning that series 2-1, I think, which was, from memory, the last time we'd won a test match in New Zealand coming onto Mount Maunganui.
You're a bit older, Jim. Did you feel as though it was like changing of the guard? That was you and Stewart really going to take over and move everything forward? Because you had, in the last sort of 30 odd years, you had Gaddock in Gough, and then me and Huggy for quite a while, and then because you were around then, but then now, was that the moment where you thought, right, this is definitely our time?
No, I didn't think that. I was thinking there's not many more chances I can get, because I've been in and out for quite a few years, and I don't think either of us thought that it'd be a start of a partnership or something that we can build on. We were just trying to take that opportunity that we've been given, bowl as well as you can, because like I said, you don't know when you're going to get another chance. So that's all I thought in my head, was like, try and bowl as well as I can. You know, I think the fact that the coach and captain had given us the responsibility after, as you said, you and Hoggy had been there for a number of years doing that job, so to leave you two out and bring us in, it gave us a bit of confidence, thinking that they trusted in us. So I think that helped as well. But yeah, I don't think we'd ever dream of achieving what we have.
And 15 years on, 1,000 wickets between years, is that an achievement you're going to probably look back when it's another one of them tick on the list that when we're done it'll look a lot better? But there's been some amazing highs and the odd low. But what can you sort of talk about the amazing highs that the 2 years have done over the course of the last 15 years?
Yeah, I think the thing that probably rings true to both of us, obviously nice to take 1,000 wickets together, but to have something like that in a test match win is what it's all about. I think there's no doubt that when you play for England, the best memories that you have are within the changing room when you've won a test match and you're all together and you know that you've gone through so much to get to that point of winning, and whether as a bowler you've had a spell or got a key batter out throughout that test match to help in that style. But both Jim and I, we don't care about wickets in losses. They mean nothing because we haven't done our job properly, and we haven't aided the team change momentum in the game well enough to get the team over the line. So to get an achievement, to get a milestone like that in a test match win always means a lot more, and just playing part of this group at the moment, it's pretty special, isn't it, what we're going through? Just the man management within the setup of Baz and Stokesy, and the mindset within the group. It is very much about how can you influence and the change momentum of the game and stamp a positive intent on the game, rather than if you go and take 7 for or get 150. Those sort of milestones aren't talked about massively in the change room. It's the impact you could have. You could get 15 with the bat, but that 15 could have just shifted the momentum for the team, and that's the thing that they'll talk about at the end of the day. So it's quite refreshing knowing that, probably the last year, Jimmy and I haven't once talked about economy rates. Never, we've sort of built our careers on economy rates, really, particularly under Straussy. That was his mantra as a captain. He wanted everyone going under 3 and over. The freedom just to run in knowing that if you go for a boundary, it's probably clapped, because you know that might open up another drive, the next ball that might get nicked, just to hunt wickets at all times. And there's certain different styles of being able to do that, but you don't feel any guilt for going to the boundary. It's very much like, I prefer you to go to the boundary, then get a wicket, rather than bowl 5 maidens on the bounce.
And the 2 years as a partnership together, how important is it you get on? I've mentioned in a lot of this sort of conversations being round of partnerships and having your man at the other end. Me and Huggy are still best mates now to this day off the field. How is it important that the 2 years get on, and when does a hard conversation come in? You feel as though you can have that with each other?
Yeah, we have plenty of hard conversations. I think the best thing is being able to be completely blunt on or off the field, mainly on the field. I think when we're both sort of perfectionists, I guess, and you can get hard on yourself, and getting the other one to snap out of it and focus on the job at hand, I think, is really important. And sometimes, younger guys might not be able to approach us in that way, or might not think they can, and tell us to just snap out of it. If I'm being a bit too grumpy or something, Brody can just say it as it is, and I take it on the chin, and vice versa. How
many times has he done that to you? Knowing as I do the grumpiness you can get to, how many times has he done that to you?
Well, it's definitely over 1,000. But yeah, I think that it is important. I think it's a bonus that we get on off the field as well. As you said, you and Hoggy are still mates now. Me and Brody will still be mates. When we're finished, we'll still be playing golf together, and I'm looking forward to that. The sort of reminiscing of the places we've been, the things we've achieved. I think that'll be nice back when we're done. But now, at the minute, I think it's what's working really well for us is still pushing us. At the age that we're both at, people may think we're coming towards the end, but I think we're still driving each other. We're still driving our standards up. We still think we can get better as players. So I think that really is something that's helping both of us.
And we both know each other technically better than ourselves, probably. I know stood at mid-on, I can tell exactly Jimmy's stride pattern, how his front arm's moving, what length he's trying to bowl. And sometimes it's much easier to tell someone what you're seeing rather than feeling it yourself, because when you're bowling the over, you're so focused on what the batter's doing and what length it's right to Kane Williamson, and should you be trying to move the ball away, and you might just have forgotten about the shorter stride pattern or actually increasing your speed when you get to the stumps. So we're both quite really good at being able to say what we see, and it doesn't mean that bowler then has to take it on and change, but actually sharing that sort of information all the time. It only takes a little thing sometimes for someone to strike in a rhythm and get moving. And also little things like, if you bowl and get a drop catch in the slips, it can take you a couple of balls to get over that, whereas we'll come up to each other straight away, just like, let's forget about that, you can't do anything about it, keep bowling that same ball, keep your intent. I think we're quite good at talking to each other when you're not bowling. Almost a more important role is when you're not bowling, getting that person focused through the spell, and that's something we're trying to feed back and do throughout the whole bowling group, because when Jimmy and I aren't around and don't play, it's so important that a bowling attack talk all the time. You're not, if you're 3 seamers and a spinner, you're not 3 individuals. You've got to get 10 wickets as a group, and it's so much easier when you're just bouncing off each other all the time. You
talked about how good you are together, but who was the influences, not only coming into the game but over the course of this 15-year great partnership? Who were the sort of main influences on the both of you during that time?
I don't want to speak for Brody, but I'm pretty sure that he'll say the 2 coaches that had the biggest impact from a bowling point of view were Otis Gibson and David Saker. I think we got them at a time where we knew our actions and stuff. We didn't need to do much technical work. What they brought was ideas and game plans and thinking about the game in a certain way and trying to take wickets and how to do it. And I think that just really helped us. We've always been thinking cricketers, but it always helps when same with Baz at the minute. He's just thinking about the game the whole time, coming up with ideas, and it makes you then maybe think outside the box a little bit as well. So I think those 2 guys, and Peter Moores as well, from a coaching point of view, I think for me was, he was the guy here in 2008 who gave me that chance along with Varney as captain. So I think those are the 3 big influences for me.
Nothing more to add on that. Absolutely spot on for me.
You're talking about raising the bar and where it can go. And there's also talk about natural from a retirement point of view, and I will say, and I'll keep bringing Huggy into it. If you look at my body and Huggy's body now, the way they are, you've got to keep bowling. You've got to keep going as much as you possibly can. What does it make Stuart Broad and Jimmy Anderson keep trying to raise the bar? Because about 2 years ago, I got frustrated when people were saying succession plans this. Look for 2 years, where you 2 was bowling as best you have ever bowled. What makes you drives both of you to raise the bar that little bit more every single time you go on the field?
I think we've both got a very natural competitive spirit. I think neither of us, I think we train to play, don't we? I wouldn't say either of us in training are like absolutely buzzing bowling all the time. We're doing things to make sure that when we step on the field, we're ready to go. But both get a ball in our hand against test opening batters, and both of us just fire up. It really gives both of us a buzz and an excitement. And for me, particularly the last year, I've just said I'm just going to attack each week, not look too far ahead. I think in English cricket in the past we've got in this habit of always getting obsessed with the future all the time. What's coming next? So I sort of made a pact with myself last year that I'm just going to look at each week as a separate entity. If I'm lucky enough to get picked, give my heart and soul, charge in, give everything, try and love the week, try and enjoy every experience of it, have a few beers and celebrate a win if we possibly can, and then put that to bed and focus on the next one. And I think that's really helped me with energy every week. So I'm not thinking about saving myself for anything. I know that I can just put everything into each match for Nottinghamshire and each match for England, and not look too far ahead. And I think it means that my focus is not being drawn anywhere else apart from what's happening this week. And I think that's made my focus actually fire in and driven me forward in the last year.
Just knocking on from that, and there's a lot of talk about partnerships and the amount of time you've played in the game. Do you think the landscape's changing? Because there's been two opening bowlers talked about for the last sort of 30, 40 years from an England point of view, but because of the test matches are getting sort of shorter in sort of times in between, is it about bowling groups in a bowling unit? Ben Stokes said your record will never be beaten, and I don't think anybody will come within 600 wickets of it. But is it about the next sort of four bowlers as opposed to the next two bowlers, with Test cricket going the way it's going?
Yeah, I think you can't have enough bowlers, to be honest. I think we're fortunate at the minute that we've got the group that we have. We've got Ollie Stone and Matt Potts with us at the moment. We've got Jofra, who's back fit, Mark Wood, who hopefully both will be around for the Ashes in the summer. So that feels like a really strong group, and there will naturally be injuries and things that will mean that we have to chop and change that attack. But I think the more players you've got around there, the better. And I think you look at Ollie Robinson at the minute, the experience that he's gaining, the way he's bowling, he feels like, for me, someone who can lead this attack going forward for a number of years if he keeps working the way he is. So I think it's having us two around, I think, has helped that experience around to help these guys through, show them what it takes to not just play a test match but recover from a test match. Like you just said, there's short periods of time in between each game, 3 days between the last game and this one. How do you recover and get yourself right to then play in the next test and keep your standards high all the way through?
Yeah, I mean, in 5 test match series that we play a few of, you don't just use 3 seamers. You need everyone to be ready to go and ready to fire, and actually everyone knowing the style of cricket you're playing as a bowling group, particularly because our mentality at the moment is never about economy rate. It's always about getting the extra fielder into a catching position, sometimes bowling with fields that you just see like 7 slips and a short leg and no fine leg. And if you've not witnessed that, or you're not clear on that being a plan, and you have a ball in your hand in a test match, it could phase you a little bit. So it's about getting bowlers around the group and accepting that's our style of play, that's how we want to approach it, getting used to Stokesy as captain, and building an armoury of fast bowlers that are ready to go, because we've got some great momentum as a team, and we're taking 20 wickets, touch wood, pretty regularly as a bowling group as well, whether that's been in Pakistan, back in England, and last week in Mount Maunganui. That's coming from a full belief from everyone and a full direction of knowing what we're doing. Look how Leach has developed in the past year. Bowling with fielders up a lot and suddenly getting caught in the catches in the ring and catches at mid-off. Whereas he'd sort of got, he'd be the first to admit he'd got in a habit of putting fielders on the boundary a lot, and then he'd just get knocked around. So it's a really ultra-attacking mindset, and you sort of don't want the first time you bowl with this ultra-attacking mindset to be in a test match. So it's sort of getting people around the group and getting people ready to know what style of cricket we're going to play.
And finally, you mentioned momentum. You've got a lot of momentum going in. That 5-letter word, Ashes, round the corner. How much are you looking forward to one more crack at them at home?
Yeah, well, I think everyone's just enjoying being around this group at the moment. What we've achieved in the last probably almost 12 months now is incredible. You know, we've got an amazing atmosphere in the dressing room. Guys are hungry to do well. Sitting down after the game in Tauranga, that, as a group, just realising how special it is to what we, you know, how we've played that week, how we've played for the last few months. You know, it is incredibly special. So obviously there's nothing bigger for an English player than the Ashes. So we're absolutely buzzing for it. Obviously, there's a little bit of time to go before that. So I think it's, as Brody's touched on, it's about just looking after now. Like, let's try and build some more momentum this week. Try and keep playing the way we have been. Keep trying to get better all the time, and then hopefully we can hit the summer. You know, it's not. It's quite early on in the summer, so we've not got much time after this before that. So it's it's just really exciting. Hopefully we can give it a good crack.
Yeah, I mean, there's no better series to be a part of as an English cricketer, and for me, just looking from, when you try and step back away from the team, looking from the outside, you could look at it as one of the most exciting Ashes since arguably 05. You know, I think the way that both teams are playing, it's going to be an incredible battle. But one thing within our group, I've not heard the Ashes mentioned once within our group. It's not been a focus at all, and neither, like, we don't judge ourselves on results. I know that sounds ridiculous because we are in a results-driven business, but we're very much about our style. We're about entertaining. As long people have come a long way to New Zealand and bought tickets to watch us play, we want them to leave the day's play going, wow, this team's so fun to watch. And almost if we tick off that as our group, if we've entertained that in that day, then we're happy, let alone if we've lost 10 wickets or conceded 300 runs, as long as we're entertaining. And if we keep that mindset going forward, it's pretty exciting for the summer, I think.